a rice farmer in Ghana who's losing his livelihood. A banana producer in the Caribbean fighting for survival. African cocoa farmers suffering the lowest prices for their crops in 30 years. All are victims of global forces over which they have no control. People around the world are becoming increasingly angry at the unfairness of international trade. Not least because it is always the poor who lose out. But is this really inevitable? Or is there a fairer way? They say that money makes the world go round. Well, here at the London Stock Exchange, stocks and shares representing all kinds of companies, products and crops are sold and traded. Fortunes are being made and lost. At any time of the day, millions of dollars are being moved around the world. It seems that these days everything has become so interconnected that we live in a truly globalized world. But this heady rush of progress has left large parts of the poorer, developing world stranded in debt and poverty. This is because the rules which govern world business are set by the richer nations, and the poor world gets the worse end of the deal. This is especially true when it comes to international trade. Here in the port of Tema in Ghana, goods of all kinds are being imported and exported. But Ghana always loses in this exchange because her exports are taxed heavily to go to rich countries, while goods from the rich world are imported here free of tax. Take rice, for example. The international rules state that Ghana must allow free access to foreign rice, and sack after sack is now flooding into the country. The rice comes from all over the world, including the United States, and is on sale in markets throughout Ghana. It ends up here because farmers in rich countries are supported with government money, so they often overproduce. Another example is canned tomatoes. Because of overproduction, a fifth of European exports are sent to West Africa. The result of all this has been to destroy the livelihoods of many farmers in Ghana. This area in the north used to be the rice-growing heartland of Ghana, but foreign imports have put a stop to that. For a while, Ghana's government kept things going by paying the farmers a little extra. But international banks said this support was against the rules, and rice production has now fallen steeply.
About 20 years ago, northern region alone produced more than enough of the rice consumption needs of the entire country. Now, the rice industry has totally collapsed. Today, the entire northern Ghana produces less than 6% of what it was producing 20 years ago.
Many farmers have been badly hit. Chief Alhaji Sule used to farm 1,000 hectares of rice, but now he only grows a third of that.
Domimi akwai kaptice miya abu kwai ka banka sama dola karin ma za interest dan ma shanga kyata sheb kwalati yan ma yosama.
The chief has managed to keep his house, but it's now little more than a shell. He hasn't got enough money to repair it. And this is all because of international trade rules in which Ghana has little say. Some people are calling these unfair rules a new form of colonialism.
We now have global markets that are dictating labor terms, price terms, and so forth. So the new form of colonialism is globalization and global markets, and meting out very unfair trade practices to weak governments like us.
The big idea these days is so-called free trade, trade that is not taxed or protected by national governments. But as we've seen, this principle is being applied very unequally, and it is poor countries that are losing out. People around the world are becoming increasingly disturbed at the effects of these global forces and are starting to make their feelings known. In 1999, thousands came out to protest in Seattle against a new body called the World Trade Organization, or WTO. The WTO says it wants free trade for all, but the protesters are against this because they fear that the rich will benefit in this new global economy far more than the poor. The protesters were met with a forceful police response, a reminder that these are burning issues. People are also challenging this new globalized order in the developing world. We'll visit two communities which are winning through against the odds. The cocoa farmers of Ghana, but before them, the banana growers of the Windward Islands. This is St. Vincent, one of the Windward Islands in the Caribbean. Many of the islands in this region were once colonized by European powers, and there are still many signs of the British influence on St. Vincent. The main crop on the island is bananas, and every year many thousands of tons are harvested and exported by farmers like Nyoka Abbott.
I've been growing bananas for the past 12 years, and my farm here is 2 acres. Banana production is very hard work, and banana is very important to me because it's my livelihood. It's the only source of income I have, and being a single parent, my return from the banana is very beneficial.
The Windward Islanders don't grow the cheapest bananas in the world, but because of historical ties with Europe, they have a special agreement to sell their crop to British and other European buyers. But the World Trade Organization says this goes against the rules of free trade, and so the Windwards will soon be facing competition from some of the biggest banana producers in the world. Here in Central America, bananas are mass-produced by American multinational companies, companies that operate all over the world. The bananas can be grown very cheaply by keeping wages low and using large amounts of chemicals. The Windward Islanders think this is unfair.
Because they grow their bananas on very large plantations, they can afford to grow their bananas much cheaper because they use cheap labor. They exploit labor. And that is what is different, because our farmers, they have to stand all of the cost and producing bananas at a much higher cost than those big multinationals.
The Windward Islands are already quite poor. People earn only about a third of British wages, and they are totally dependent on the banana trade. So losing their favoured sales to Europe will be a body blow. But the Windwarders are fighting back and campaigning against this change. They point out the suffering which will follow a win by the WTO.
If we lost the banana market, it spells sheer chaos for us in the Windward Islands. People won't have any money to buy food because there are people whose sole livelihood are totally dependent on bananas. Added to the high unemployment, there will be an increase in crime because people have to find some way of living. People will steal, they will prostitute, they will get involved in drugs, and we'll see an increase in the drug trade.
If banana have to phase out at this point, I won't be able to tell you what I will do because I see no hope in my future if banana should phase out.
It is clear that in this new globalised world, small nations are unlikely to have the protection they had in the past, but there are